Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Janice Martalucci, and I'm here to welcome you to Sangha Live this morning. For those of you who are accustomed to first seeing Jake on here, she's still with us doing tech support today, but I'm excited to be able to begin introducing Caverly this week and support the very busy Sangha Live staff members who've taken on a lot of extra work over the last few weeks. My name's Janice, and I've been working with Caverly at Peace in Schools for about the last 5 years, but I've known her for over a decade now. So excited to get to introduce her today. If it's your first time here, I want to start by sharing a couple things about this platform, Sangha Live. It's a really incredible offering to the world. As you see in the chat box, there's people from all over the globe here. And Sangha Live has been offering weekly live sessions every Sunday for the last 5 years. In addition to that, Sangha Live offers in-depth courses with a huge variety of teachers, and I believe you can find a lot of those offerings in the Dharma Library on the website. And in response to the COVID-19 outbreak that's affecting the globe, Sangha Live has begun over the last few weeks offering these daily live sessions, which have been so supportive for so many. So again, I'm just grateful to be able to support them in this way. And I want to underline as well that no one is ever turned away due to lack of funds. So these sessions are free and available to all. And the reason that's possible is through the practice of dana, this mutual giving and generosity. So I want to just make sure everyone notices the green button below your video that says offer donation or dana. If it's possible for you to support the Sangha Live and the offerings they put out into the world, please consider donating in whatever way you can. It supports the staff, it supports the platform costs, supports the teachers that dedicate their time to sharing practice. And if financial support is not an option for you right now, that is no problem at all. Simply being here, sharing presence, participating in the chat box, those are all different ways that you can support this work, this platform, and these teachings. So now I'm going to introduce my dear friend, Caverly. She is so many things, but one of them is that she's the founder and head of practice at Peace in Schools, which is a nonprofit located in Portland, Oregon, that offers in-depth mindfulness education for teens and in the public high schools out there, as well as adults, educators, parents, counselors. And she also is the creator of Presence Collective, which is a growing community dedicated to personal transformation, social justice, and collective liberation. Caverly is an inspiring teacher. She meets the moment. I was just speaking to someone who's been attending these daily sessions, and they were remarking on Caverly's ability to meet those brand new to this practice and also meet those who've been practicing for years. So she has a real gift of making these teachings truly accessible to all. So I'd love to bring her on screen now. And hi there, Caverly.
Hi, good morning. Janice, thank you for being here. And thanks for supporting Sangha Live. More and more, I feel a part of Sangha Live and everything that's happening through this platform. And so thanks for joining that experience. Really, really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, so grateful to be here with everyone today. And Caverly, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Jan. All right. Good morning or afternoon or good evening. I truly think I start every single call by saying how touched I feel to see people come in from all over. And it's because it's just always true. I'm so happy to see folks from France, Netherlands, from India, from Kansas City, from Arizona. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Someone will have to let me know later whether as the clouds, we're going to have great weather here in Portland. Great meaning sunny for Portland. The Portland rain is great too, but many of us here in Portland are pretty excited about how much sun has been around lately. And so you'll have to let us know if there's too much light behind my head. I do have a little backdrop I can tape up. But for now, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that there were a few questions that I did not get to at the end of yesterday's session. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. You need not have participated in yesterday's session to follow along today. But know that if you did write in, I will be doing my best to weave in response through today's meditation and discussion. Yeah, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. Let's go ahead and begin with stillness. Before we move into this meditation, I invite you to stretch for a moment, maybe roll your shoulders, just allow yourself to settle in to this Dharma hall. And I've been enjoying, as I have been offering these sits, I've been very much enjoying hearing a few words from you on the sidebar. You've noticed probably that it allows me to have an experience of addressing what's in the room, quote unquote. So tell me, what are you present to in this moment, in a word or phrase in that sidebar, if you wish, not required. What's alive for you in this moment? What are you aware of? Sunshine, anxiety, connected compassion, pushing, presence and gratitude, self-compassion, grief, and appreciation. Yeah, thank you. It's so helpful just to name some of what's alive because it allows us to feel the collective field. Silence, isolation, anxiety and confusion, anxiety, achy body, gratitude, guilt. Call from a friend saying she's well and grateful. Thank you. With that, we'll move into our sit. And if you haven't gotten to write in what you'd like to, please feel free to. But we will begin this meditation, which will be for half an hour. Let's begin this meditation by taking 3 of the longest and deepest inhalations and exhalations you've taken yet today. Recently, we've been speaking about the conditioned mind, the mind of worry, the mind of limitation, the mind of complaint. I, me, my mind, the mind that centers the ego, that places the ego at the center of the universe, the activity of mind that is the ego. The ego is not actually a self. The ego is simply the activity of mind that creates the appearance of a self that is separate from life. So for this morning, let's begin by noticing the activity of the conditioned mind. Very simple way we talk about this with teens is notice your self-talk. How is this inner dialogue shaping the landscape? In practice, it's not simply significant that there's an observation of what the mind is up to, though that's incredibly important. It's significant that you are recognizing what the mind is up to because you are aware. If you were not aware, how would you know what the mind is up to? If you were not aware, how could you report to me on the chat what you're present to? So we're recognizing ourselves as aware. You don't need to fix, change, try to adjust anything that's arising in the conditioned mind. There's absolutely nothing to strive for in this moment. You are simply being aware. Because one of the things we'll be touching on today is striving. I wanted to read a little something as you sit quietly. It's not a problem if it's not quiet around you right now. Many of you have many people that you're quarantined with or in shelter in place with. There might be children in the background. All that's fine. You're finding the quiet in your heart by sitting and remembering. If you meditate to be a better person, you'll always be busy trying to be a better person. If you meditate because you are in love, because you are in love with resting in your own being, your own luminous, infinite being, then you'll always be in love. If you meditate to be a better person, you'll always be busy trying to be a better person. If you meditate because you are in love with resting in your own luminous, infinite being, you'll always be in love. Those words came to me some weeks ago now as a way to point to a way to invite a specific approach to meditation. One that's centered, a process that's centered around the very thing that we long for. To be happy, to be at peace, to know love. So I invite you now to rest in this love, to rest in the process of love. Just noticing whatever's arising in the conditioned mind. No need to identify with any of it. Surrendering whatever's happening in the conditioned mind to the open, vast field of awareness. Which is also your own being, resting in your own being. as we rest in this way. Excuse me. As we rest in this way. Nothing we need to do. Even with the arising of coughing or sneezing. Practicing allowing. Being with. Nothing we need to change. Just surrendering experience to this openness. The openness out of which all experience arises, thought forms, body sensations, body reactions, emotions. the mind becomes busy and you notice the attention wander, if you see the identification with the conditioned mind, if you see that process from your seat of awareness, if you see that process beginning, or perhaps based on this prompt, you recognize, oh, I've been identified with this conditioned mind. I've been running a story about what I'll do later today, or worried about the future or the past. Simply notice and return to resting in your luminous being. Again, allowing for whatever is arising. Thought forms, emotions, sensations in the body, body reactions. Allowing. Allowing and being. Allowing and resting. Thank you. I'd like to begin the next portion of the call, which is not separate from our meditation. This whole experience, our questions, our answers, our comments, our inquiry, our observations, our stillness, our sitting, it's all an expression of meditation practice. I'd like to begin this next portion of our meditation, our experience of inquiry, with a question from yesterday, which influenced the meditation we did today. This question from yesterday prompted me to pull that little poem, if you will, the words that came to me that I posted on Instagram some weeks ago. When, however, there's so much that needs to be fixed or changed, when the world is suffering, what do we do with this ocean of awareness? So in yesterday's meditation, we focused on a metaphor of the ocean, a shoreless, borderless, infinite ocean of awareness. Another way, if you're just joining us today, that we could talk about it based on today's meditation is your infinite, luminous being. So the question is, what do we do with the suffering of the world? What's the relationship between the suffering of the world and this infinite, luminous beingness that is our true nature? For the purposes of this next piece of the discussion, I would like to bring in the terms relative and absolute. So on the relative plane, what I'm referring to with the relative plane is getting your groceries, being quarantined, thinking about paying your taxes, or if your deadline is in April 15th because you're not in this country, thinking about where your child might go to school next year, thinking about a loved one who's been sick. Those are all things that are happening on the relative plane of experience. When I refer to the absolute realm of experience, I'm referring to the as Zen Master Bankei would say, the unborn mind. The mind that has no beginning and no end, the mind that, the infinite ocean of awareness. That's not of time. Time is a construct created in the conditioned mind. So what I believe the question is really asking at its core is, how are we engaging on the relative plane? How does our meditation practice inform how we're engaging on the relative plane? So if we're recognizing ourselves as this absolute experience, how are we engaging on the relative plane? And I would like to offer that it's only through knowing ourselves as this absolute experience that we can be most authentic. By authentic, I mean in alignment with our knowing, our recognizing of our true nature, that we can be the most authentic in our interactions, in our movements on the relative plane. Rupert Spira once said, I heard him speaking, and he said, in order to know our humanity, we must first know our divinity. And by that he meant, as we know ourselves, as we know our true nature, we then can know our humanity. We can know our humanity more intimately because we recognize our experience in humanity as we recognize all experience in humanity as our own. We recognize the non-separate nature of experience. So that starts us off for our discussion today. And as we move into further exchange, I do want to remind you about the importance of supporting this platform if you're able. So just my little post-meditation plug. Although it's all meditation, even donating is meditation, friends. It's an act of generosity. It's an act that arises from our spirit of generosity. And as Jake always mentions, if you're in a time right now where you can't donate, please don't spend time feeling bad about that. These offerings are from love, for love, through love. And it really helps us continue that. If you can support it, if you can contribute. So, relative, absolute, ocean of awareness, beingness, your luminous true nature. What are you noticing? What is arising for you? I'm going to, in the question box, we have one question. Last week you mentioned that in this time you're using more visualization in the guided meditations. Can you say a little about that? Yes, hello, Marie. I've been noticing in this time more than before we were in this global pandemic, that what seems to be serving the collective as we meditate together, even more than before the crisis, I'm seeing that folks are not longing for the aspect of meditation practice that I refer to as just to focus on disciplining the mind. There can be such benefit in training the attention to be where you want it to be. In learning to steady the mind by training the attention to be where you want it to be. But in this time, such uncertainty, most people I've been working with are longing to go straight to their direct experience of true nature and to focus less on what's happening with within the specifics of, what's happening in the conditioned mind. To focus less on the discipline of training the attention, to focus more on allowing the attention to soften and release into our direct experience of true nature. It's a direct way to be with uncertainty, to remember that we are not that which is uncertain. So I've been feeling called to go down the route of offering different metaphors and images that invite us back into this experience of remembrance. Much like this conversation about the relative and the absolute, to recognize that from this remembrance, we then can act in the world. We then can address our concerns. It's really important to me that we not confuse resting in our own being with rejecting or bypassing everything that's happening on the relative plane. And now more than ever, it seems clear to so many of us that these planes are not separate. So what are we bringing to our relative experience? I want to suggest that we all long to bring to our relative experience a deep knowing of our absolute experience, a deep knowing of our own being. For we interact with each other differently when we're coming from the recognition of who we authentically are. It's only when identified with the conditioned mind that we can feed processes of othering and rejection and the distortion of separateness. Thank you for asking that, Maria. I want to invite you again to come on screen if you'd like to. I think, in fact, no one's taken me up on that yet, but I would love to invite it. If you'd like to come on and we could have an exchange. If you'd like to chat, you can just let us know here in the chat box. Thank you for mentioning that. Melanie, your guided meditations are giving me the inward visual focus I've been searching for in my meditation practice. I love my new experience of meditating with you in this global meditation hall. And this causes me to want to enjoy it daily. Melanie, thank you. I want to underline your choice of words, enjoyment. Our meditation practice shifts dramatically when we allow ourselves to enjoy resting in our own being. When our meditation practice is not the space for self-improvement, for trying to change ourselves, change the world. Now, this is important. That's not to say we don't have the capacity to create great change in the world. As you know, I work for Presence Collective. I also work for Peace in Schools. Peace in Schools has an intention to change public education in this country, to change the way we just finished a research project. The data is still being collected. Research project, and our researcher from Johns Hopkins University has done the first global study that we can find. Maybe someone from around the world will let me know if you know of one we can't find, about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and the intervention of mindfulness, how mindfulness affects adverse childhood experiences. So clearly we're committed to significant change on the relative plane. Imagine if when you were young and you were moving through various traumas that so many of us move through as children, you were being offered tools, a way to be with those experiences, a way to integrate, process, a way to advocate for yourself, to know that you're worth advocating for a healthier circumstance. All these things come through knowing who you are, through finding, as we talk about in this Dharma hall, finding the seat of dignity that is yours. And that seat of dignity is the seat of recognizing who you authentically are, and then moving through the world from that recognition. So very important to say that when we say nothing to fix, nothing to change, that's not the same thing as we are the absolute, and therefore everything else is simply an illusion. I actually hear a lot of that. I like to call that nonsense. I hear a lot of that nonsense in spiritual circles. The reason I can say that it's nonsense is because to have that kind of conversation, you'd have to be only addressing the absolute realm of experience as if the relative realm is not real. Now we can talk in another call about the reality of the relative experience. But for now, it's important to acknowledge that there is a reality to your trauma. There's a reality to your pain. There's a reality to your lived experience. So we're not leaving that behind in this practice. We're allowing our understanding of who we authentically are, our direct experience of the absolute, to inform our experience on the relative plane. So if I use the example of peace in schools, we're allowing our understanding of what's possible through practice, our direct experience that we know is possible through practice, to inform how we relate with young people, what we're able to offer young people. So the knowing of truth, the knowing of love is informing. It becomes fuel of sorts for what's happening on the relative plane. Just checking to see if there are any other questions or comments. I don't see any in this moment. You all are a quiet bunch today. There's a new question in the box. I'll check. And, oh, okay, great. Thank you. And a deep confirmation. Lovely. Oh, and then Sandy, should I be looking closely or loosely at the ways meditation practice is influencing how I live in the world moment to moment? You know, Sandy, I'm not entirely sure what you mean by how your meditation practice is influencing. I would think of it like this. When I'm resting in love, it's easeful as I turn my gaze, let's say, towards my husband. It's easy to feel that love flow in the direction of my husband. I don't need to look closely or loosely at that. It's helpful to simply notice that when we're resting in presence, our interactions are infused with presence. When I'm identified with the conditioned mind, it's easier to see my husband as someone who keeps leaving clothes all over the house. True story. To see my husband as someone who's blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to. One public complaint about my husband is plenty. from the seat of love, it's an observation. It doesn't become a big story that there's a problem, that he's separate from me, that we need to get into an argument. Arguments arise from the identification that I am separate from you. Doesn't mean arguments are bad or wrong. None of this is about right and wrong. It's about the recognition of truth and moving through the world from that recognition. So Sandy, I'm not entirely sure if that fully addressed your question, but please bring it tomorrow if not, or write something else in for me to sit with between now and tomorrow, and I'll respond. Jackie, an awareness of my vulnerability and sincerity. And in that, notice the conditioned mind. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Jackie. Lovely. Well, friends, thank you again for being here today. Thank you, Sangha Live, so much for offering this platform. A reminder to make a donation now if you haven't yet. And please join us tomorrow morning if you wish. As I log off, I'll look to the sidebar to see if there's anything you'd appreciate us focusing on tomorrow. Until then, I hope that you enjoy, to go back to Melanie's word, let us enjoy the practice of resting in our own infinite, luminous being. Try it for one full day between now and tomorrow morning. Let that be your practice, and show up tomorrow. And let us know, how was it to practice that? What got in the way, if anything? Good, Sandy. I'm glad I addressed your question. Thank you again so much. See you tomorrow.